Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're tackling what is basically the heavyweight championship debate of the entire investing world. It is a question that plagues almost every single investor out there at some point. Is it better to invest your hard-earned money little by little over time, or should you just drop it all at once in one big chunk? So what really is the best way to invest? Let's dive right into this massive question. But hey, instead of just throwing dry math and boring charts at you, we are going to take a much more fun narrative approach today. We're actually going to time travel through 3 very different market eras with a few fictional friends just to uncover the mathematical truth behind when each of these strategies actually wins. All right, since we all know the basics, let's just quickly lock in the specific parameters for our experiment so we're all on the exact same page. First, we have our systematic investment plan, or SIP. This is going to be locked in at a continuous 5,000 rupees every single month, totally ignoring whatever crazy volatility is happening in the market. Then, in the other corner, we have the lump sum approach. This is the one-time deployment of a really large chunk of capital, say 5 lakh rupees, at one specific point in time. Okay, let's jump straight into story 1, the 1992 peak. Picture this. The year is 1992. The stock market is absolutely booming. The Sensex is peaking at around 4,000 points, and man, pure greed is just in the air. Enter our 2 friends, Lucky and Monty. Now, they both just got a really nice bonus from their private company jobs. Monty is watching the news, he gets massive FOMO, and decides to go all in with a lump sum investment. He dumps 1 lakh into a hot stock, Videocon, and another 2 lakhs into a mutual fund right at the absolute peak of the market. Lucky, however, totally ignores the hype. He just sets up a simple, boring 1,000 rupee per month SIP into a large cap mutual fund. Let's hit fast forward 25 years to 2017. Both of our friends are now getting ready to retire. Remember, they started at the exact same time and were in the market for the exact same duration. So let's see how the magic of compounding actually treated them. The results here are frankly staggering. Monty's quote-unquote hot stock went to absolute zero. Yeah, turns out getting investment advice from the Harshad Mehta hype train isn't exactly a winning strategy. His 2 lakh mutual fund did eventually grow to 14 lakhs, but over 25 years, that works out to just an 8% annualized return. It's pretty underwhelming. Meanwhile, Lucky quietly invested a total of 3 lakhs over those exact same years through his SIP. And because his SIP just kept buying steadily, even when the market dipped, his final value sits at a massive 32 lakhs. That's a 15% return. So clearly, SIP is the undisputed champion, right? Case closed. Well, hold on. Because that brings us to story 2, the 2008 crash. It is 2008. The entire global financial system is melting down, and the Sensex has literally crashed 50%. Amidst all this total panic, we meet Sunny and Rocky. They're 2 young guys who each get 2 lakhs from their parents. Sunny goes out and buys a bike with most of it, but wisely takes his remaining money and starts a steady 5,000 rupee per month SIP into a large cap mutual fund. Rocky, however, looks at this 50% market crash and remembers that old saying, be greedy when others are fearful. So he delays buying a bike. Instead, he drops a 1 lakh lump sum right into an index fund and another 1 lakh lump sum into Eicher Motors stock. That's the company that makes Royal Enfield bikes, and it was trading at just around 25 rupees a share at the time. Okay, let's jump ahead another 10 years to 2018. Sunny has been super disciplined, right? He kept that SIP running through all the severe ups and downs. Rocky hasn't saved a single penny since his initial crazy brave lump sum deployment. Let's see how this bold move actually plays out against the historically safe SIP. Surprisingly, Rocky absolutely crushed it. Just looking at their mutual funds alone, Sunny's highly disciplined SIP gave him a solid 10% return. But Rocky's lump sum index fund yielded 15%. Why? Well, it's because Rocky bought everything at the absolute bottom of the 2008 crash. Sunny started at the bottom too, but as the market eventually recovered, his SIP kept buying units at increasingly expensive prices, which naturally dragged his average return down. But you really have to notice the incredible outlier here, Rocky's stock pick. Remember that single 1 lakh lump sum he threw into Eicher Motors? Well, that stock price grew from 25 rupees to nearly 3,000 rupees. His investment literally multiplied 110 times, turning into 1.1 crores. I mean, this is the absolute definition of the zero or hero nature of lump sum investing. So let's briefly look under the hood in a section we'll call Decoding CAGR versus XIR. To understand exactly why the S&P lost that last round, we really need to quickly refresh the math. Rocky's 15% return is his CAGR, or compound annual growth rate. Basically, it's just a point-to-point measurement. It measures one big investment growing from a specific start date to an end date. And if you somehow manage to nail the absolute bottom of a crash for your start date, your CAGR is going to look spectacular. Sunny's 10% return, on the other hand, is calculated using XIRR, which is the extended internal rate of return. Because his SIP continuously deployed capital as the market recovered and ultimately got more expensive, it safely averaged out his risk. But mathematically, it also averaged down his percentage gain when you compare it directly to Rocky's perfectly timed lump sum. All right, let's move on to story 3, stock picking traps. So, we know lump sum wins with perfect timing, and SIP wins for steady long-term growth. But what actually happens when you try to pick individual stocks? Let's go to 2017. Sunny asks Rocky for some stock tips. Rocky mentions 2 companies he's planning to hold for the next 5 years, Nestle and Tata Motors. Well, Sunny runs home and uses typical beginner logic. He looks at Nestle, sees it's trading at a massive 7,000 rupees a share, and thinks, whoa, that's way too expensive. I'll just do a small SIP into that. Then looks at Tata Motors, sees it's under 500 rupees, thinks, wow, what an absolute bargain, and drops his entire savings into it as a one-time lump sum. And guys, this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate trap. 5 years later, Sunny has only made about a 20% overall return, while Rocky made over 150% on the exact same 2 stocks. How is that even possible? Well, Sunny worked completely backward. In 2017, Tata Motors was actually slightly overvalued despite its low nominal share price. Rocky knew it might dip, so he used an SIP to slowly buy into Tata Motors, capturing massive gains when it crashed and then recovered. Nestle, however, had just suffered the whole Maggie crisis. Its price had plummeted. Rocky knew this really high-quality company would definitely bounce back, so he used a lump sum to buy the dip, gaining 160%. Basically, Sunny SP'd the dip and lump summed the peak. So here is the absolutely crucial point I want you to take away from this. Neither strategy is perfectly flawless on its own. Context completely dictates your choice. Lump sum is a zero or hero play. It offers the highest risk and the highest reward, but really only if you have the knowledge to perfectly time a crash or a crisis. An SIP, however, is your ultimate shield. It provides both portfolio diversification and time diversification. And because it's completely automatic, it removes your emotions from the equation entirely. You can start an SIP at the absolute peak of a market or the bottom of a crash, and it will still do its job, essentially protecting you from your own backward beginner logic. Which brings us to a really important final thought I want to leave you with today. As we've seen, lump sum requires almost prophetic, perfect timing, while a steady SIP will protect you from your own worst enemy, your emotions. So honestly ask yourself, take a look at your portfolio right now. Are you choosing your investment strategy based on calculated math, or are you just investing based on fear? Think about that, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.